Lieutenant Colonel Robert Anderson's Union Brigade. He was with the Pennsylvania Reserve Division of the Union 1st Army Corps. Pennsylvania Reserves was probably a misnomer because these brigades in that division were some of the most experienced in the entire Union Army at the time. On the morning of the 17th, the Union 1st Army Corps had pushed beyond the cornfield area and reached this nadir just almost a stone's throw from the Dunkard Church. They had pushed Confederates out of the cornfield, were pushing them out of the meadow south of the cornfield, and at about 7 o'clock in the morning, when these guys were just about fought out, John Bell Hood's Confederate division came onto the field with nearly 2,000 men and attacked. And everything that the Union troops had gained to that point started to be taken away, and they started to be pushed back through the cornfield, back through all the property they had just gained. Waiting at the north cornfield fence was this brigade under Lieutenant Colonel Robert Anderson, who was a postmaster in Pittsburgh prior to the war, 45 years old. And he has his men waiting at the north cornfield fence with another Union brigade. These were not large-sized brigades, maybe 600, 700 men, not very big. And they're waiting until Union troops poured through them and came back over them before they could fire. They were able to halt that Confederate advance. We talk about the losses taken by the 1st Texas Regiment, over 80% losses. They came in right in front, some say within 30 paces of Robert Anderson's brigade, were hit with buck and ball at that close range, decimated them, completely stopped this attack with the help of some artillery on the high ground behind them, and held the ground until the Union 12th Corps could arrive and take up the slack and keep the attack going again. So it was very important that these guys were in the position where they were and did what they did on that day. George Gordon Meade, the division commander, said it was one of the most critical actions of the day, that they had to stop them. Without this, I'm not sure where the Union attack would have gone from this point had they been driven back. Absolutely crucial that they held that position. The most interesting thing that I've found in my research on the brigade was how much Joe Hooker did not like the Pennsylvania Reserves. This goes back to their time on the peninsula during the 7 Days Campaign. They had fought really well at the Battle of Glendale, including a bayonet charge in one of the brigades of the Pennsylvania Reserve Division. But what Hooker saw was them being routed back through his troops. Hooker at that time was in the Union 3rd Army Corps. He was a division commander. After the 7 Days and after the Second Manassas Campaign, Hooker becomes their commanding officer in the newly formed 1st Army Corps, Army of the Potomac. He had written earlier that these men were utterly worthless. He had no use for the Pennsylvania Reserves. He felt that they came from the dregs of Pennsylvania and wanted no parts of them. And then he ends up commanding them, okay? On the march to Antietam in the Maryland campaign, the governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Curtin, was very concerned with the Confederate Army between his border and the Army of the Potomac. He wanted an officer of some stature to come to Pennsylvania and take control of the militia troops who he thought would be there to protect the border. And he wanted John Reynolds, General John Reynolds, who was at that time in command of the Pennsylvania Reserve Division. Hooker went crazy. He says, listen, Reynolds is a good man. Reynolds is a good man. He can control these guys. I have nobody left who can control them. You want him to go hold the hand of this nervous governor of Pennsylvania. What am I going to do? Well, how would you like to be the next guy up? The next guy who would take over command for Reynolds of the division was George Gordon Meade. Meade got word of this, and he goes to McClellan's headquarters when they had stopped in Frederick on the campaign, and he said, what am I supposed to do here? How can I work with a guy like this? He doesn't want us. He doesn't want me in command. He doesn't think I'm competent. McClellan smooths things over. He says, it's okay, it's okay. We're going to just get through the campaign. We'll make this work. You could not script this. Basically, what the Pennsylvania Reserves did at South Mountain for Joe Hooker in the 1st Army Corps, and then at Antietam, as I said, they basically saved the Union Army from a rout after 7 in the morning when the Union troops had been turned around. They saved them. You cannot make this up. But the amount of the acrimonious feeling that Hooker had for the Pennsylvania Reserves really surprised me.